Hey everybody, today I want to go over JCI CCT troubleshooting. I put together this little PowerPoint here for most of the JCI CCT problems that I get called on. It's not all the way up to date, but it's close enough. I'll talk about what's going on with it. So first, CCT install problems. CCT uses a SQL Server. So the computer has to run Windows Pro or better, Pro or Enterprise, basically, to allow CCT to even be installed on it. So if you have a Windows home computer, if you just go Best Buy or whatever, pick up a computer, most likely CCT is not going to install on there. You have to have a Pro or better version. You're going to have to upgrade to get CCT to install. You can't have any old versions on your computer of PCT. So basically, PCT and CCT are the same thing. You can't have any old unlicensed versions of CCT. You can pretty much can't have CCT on your computer. You're gonna have to uninstall that to install the new CCT. CCT, you have to have admin rights to run. So it's best to always right click and install as admin. And even doing that, you might have some issues down the road, but it'll at least help you out. But you have to have admin rights to run CCT. So if you have problems loading CCT, after you uninstall CCT, you need to go to program data, Johnson Controls, Metasys 3, and delete out that CCT folder right there. If that folder will stay even though you uninstall CCT. Now, if you save some custom modules and stuff, you can go in that folder and move them to a different folder, move them to your desktop. That way, once you load CCT again, you can go in there and add those back in and you don't have them. But you have to delete that guy out if you're having problems loading CCT. All right, so if you use our Dropbox link or I send you a Dropbox link, it's going to kind of look like this. And to run CCT itself, it takes three. Technically, it takes two, but you want to download three of the downloads on here. You want the actual CCT itself. That's the top one, controller configuration tool. You want the next highlighted one down. That's the FX controller field packages. So that allows you to talk to the FX controllers. Without that, CCT doesn't work. It'll open, but you won't be able to do anything with it because it doesn't know what controllers you're going to talk to. And the third is a software manager. Now, this is where it's a little older. Now, when you download CCT and install it, it installs software manager for you. So that third one is kind of unnecessarily. I would say that you will want to do the SA bus device packages as well. You want to make sure that's up to date, but the rest of the stuff you don't need for CCT. Let's talk about Software Manager. So Software Manager, before you load any licenses at the top right hand corner, you want to come down to the bottom left hand corner first. Because more than likely, if you just installed this, it's going to say machine tag undefined. You're going to have to define your machine, give it a name before you add licenses. Yes, it'll let you click the add license button. Yes, it'll let you copy and paste all those licenses in there. But whenever you go to hit OK, it fails out on you because it tells you your machine tag has to be named. So save yourself the headache. Go ahead and name your machine tag name. Now name it something that makes sense because your distributor can look up your machine tag name if you have problems with your licensing or something in the future. If you lose your computer and you get a new one and you don't want to go and buy a new CCT, you call your distributor up. If you remember what that old tag name is, they can call Johnson, get it removed, and get you the keys without you purchasing CCT again. All right, checking the hardware packages. That's probably the first thing you want to do after you've loaded everything and licensed everything. So open up CCT, and in the blank screen here, before you click File New or anything, go to Device, Define Hardware at the top right-hand side, and make sure that all your controller packages are in there, and you can look at the build numbers for that. Right now the build numbers are up to 10 or 11 making this video here, so you'll want to see everything from 10, 11, 9, 8, and 6 in there. And then you want to see the last column is licensed. You don't want to see unlicensed anywhere. So if you see unlicensed anywhere, that's a software manager problem. You need to go back to software manager and make sure you have the license for the FX field controller packages loaded in there. If you don't see anything in here, then that is the field device packages issue. You need to go and load all your field device packages in there first, and then go check software. So it takes 2 to 4 minutes for Software Manager to start up after you run your computer. Now this is somewhat true, and there is a workaround here. So if you actually go to your Windows key and then type in services and go down to JCI license service, and you'll see when you double click on that guy, you'll see it's a delayed start. So if you want it to start up instantaneously with your computer every morning, you can change that delayed start to automatic and you're good. So if not, just know whenever you start up your computer, it's going to take 2 to 4 minutes for that license manager to get up and running. I have other videos. You can go search for it. If you want a full video on how to uninstall PCT and CCT, you can go check search the channel, and you'll find that video. So connection problems. Oh, let's talk about connection problems. So there's a couple ways to connect to the controllers, right? So supervisor pass-through, that's only used in Metasys, NAEs, not Jaces. And even going through a Metasys NAE, you cannot connect pass-through to an FX field controller. It won't let you do it, okay? So this is only for Metasys, Metasys, Metasys. So not for most of y'all, us. That's only the Branch Johnson guys. Bluetooth, right? Bluetooth, well, it's coming back. The old soap and a rope will work for the older PCGs, right? And then it won't work right now for the F4 controllers, but actually the map gateway is getting replaced with a new tool, and that new tool will have Bluetooth capabilities again, so we could connect Bluetooth again. So right now we're kind of in the between time. It's May of 23 right now. So I'm told June is when I'm going to get my new tools. So I'll be making a video on that as soon as I get them. But just know right now the old soap on a rope does not work for the F4 controllers. Soap on a rope I'm referring to as the BC CTVT tool. I don't know. Looks like a big blue bar of soap. That does not work on the new F4 controllers. Map Gateway, currently, that's how we connect to the new controllers, right? And Map Gateway is either a Map Johnson Gateway, or you would actually use this setting if you're using a contemporary controls router, any kind of MSTP to IP router, right? Or even going through a Jace. So it's Map Gateway / Bacnet Router. So if you have your Jace settings set up correctly, then you can actually use the Jace as the Bacnet router. Zigbee, you can use that for the older stuff when you have wireless flags. That requires a Zigbee dongle and direct Ethernet. Obviously, direct Ethernet can only be done with direct IP controllers. The CVE lines, CEV, EV, yeah, CEM lines, um, and even the older stuff. As long as it's direct IP, you can do it, not MSTP. Let's talk about Bluetooth. There's Bluetooth. So Bluetooth, to have it set up correctly, you're going to have to choose your Bluetooth COM port. To find that, you're going to have to go into your device manager, and then you'll have two different COM ports. It's usually the lowest one. So mine's 7 and 8 here in the highlighted, and it works on 7 on mine. Map gateway. So the default IP address for the map gateway is 192.168.142.1, and its default network number is 65001. The network number in the map gateway can be changed, but the Wi-Fi address is always going to be that 192.168.142.1. I recommend using a dongle right now, like a little Wi-Fi dongle that you plug into your USB on your computer, and it's just a USB to Wi-Fi adapter, wireless in. That way you still have your computer's Wi-Fi to hook up to the internet somewhere, so I can have TeamViewer access if you have problems or whatever. So whenever you first get your map gateway, the very first thing you got to do is go into it and do all your password changes that it makes you do. But you have to go into settings and you have to go to Bacnet Router and enable Bacnet routing. It comes out of the box disabled. I'm be so happy when the new device comes, and I really hope it comes Bacnet enabled. If you want to see a video on the map gateway, you can go search mine up. All right, connecting to a Jace. This is what a lot of people want to see, right? So you need to go in your Bacnet COM or your Jace. You need to have a IP port, a Bacnet IP port set up, right? And it has to be the port that you're using. So if you're using the secondary port on the Jace, set up the IP port as the secondary port, okay? If you're using the first port, do it the first port. If you use them both, like one's a remote connection and one's direct plug-in, then set up an IP connection for both of them. And then turn on Bacnet routing enabled. You turn that guy on and you're good. Now, what you have to know is the MSTP port number of the MSTP port that you're using to put the controller on. You need to know that because that's what you're going to put in CCT. So in CCT, we're going to put the IP address of the Jace. We're going to make sure the Bacnet routing is enabled. And we need that network number of the MSTP. So connection problems. Oh God. We've all had this. Please select a different device or a different connection point to access this device. So number one thing to look at is the device address. So go to Define Hardware, make sure the device address is set up in Define Hardware is the same as the physical device address of the device, the MAC address of the device, okay? This is number one, the most common problem here. Maybe the number's flipped, maybe the number's different, maybe you forgot to change the number in device hardware. That's why it's not downloading, right? FC and SA bus. So the VAVs have a FC and SA bus both on the front. You'll see the kind of the top one is the FC bus, and the one below it is the SA bus. the PCG controllers, the old PCG controllers, has the SA bus on the bottom. It's right next to the brown plug itself. It's up under there. So how to tell if the controller is Bacnet or N2, right? All of Johnson controllers can be Bacnet or N2. So all you have to do is go to define hardware, go to N2 mapping, and if you see the blank right here and it says create, then that's a Bacnet controller. That's a Bacnet program. It's going to talk Bacnet. If you see stuff in it, like this example here, that's going to turn it into, that's going to be an N2 controller. You can only use the SA bus to talk to the N2 controllers, right? Because it flipped the FC bus to N2. It's no longer talking Bacnet. So the only way we could talk to that guy is through the SA bus. The SA bus stays Bacnet in air quotes here, where you can actually talk to it. How to scan the trunk for devices, right? So you can go to commissioning, quick and easy way, dirty way. Hit commission, discover, it'll scan. But also, you'll see this a lot if I'm jumping in your computer for help or whatever. I'll go to tools, online operations. For some reason, when you do that, I get it's a little bit stronger discover. I get more things that discover faster. I get more information that way if I need it. So I always use the tools online operations to scan the trunk. Will not scan anything. So make sure your map gateway is still connected, right? That's the number one biggest complaint about the map gateway because it drops out all the time. So make sure that guy is connected. Check the map gateway to see if you see any controllers on it. So if you go to the GUI on the map gateway, right, you go to the IP address, you log in, and if you see controllers, then the Bacnet connection's good, right? Then it's a CCT problem to the Bacnet, to the map gateway. If you see controllers on there, close down CCT. I would go ahead and even restart your computer and then open up CCT as admin, log back in, and you're probably good. If that still doesn't work, pull off the FC bus and the SA bus trunks, right? So take the controller offline. Maybe there's some bad interference on the line that's causing the controller to go down. Maybe the stat's miswired. I've seen the stat being miswired before, and it causes issues in the controller, right? So basically pull the blue plug or the orange plug and the brown plug off of the controller and try hit it that way. Try both the FC bus and SA bus. I have had an instance where they were swapped on the controller itself. It came from the factory, the FC bus with the SA bus, and the SA bus was the FC bus on the RJ11 side. Make sure you're connected to the FX controller and not the MS controller, right? So if it's gray, you're not going to be able to talk to it, right? If it's, I'm saying that if it grays the branch colors, so if you're trying to talk to, you're trying to program a branch controller with Facility Explorer licenses, it's not going to work, okay? And then there was a batch of these controllers, the Facility Explorer, that came out with the wrong firmware on there. And you'll see that whenever you go to load it on the page, it'll actually say MS device and not F4 device or what have you. If all that fails, right, we've all seen this. Take it out there and beat it. All right, release mode. So you can only use version 10.2 firmware 6.2 on the older FX PCV and PCG controllers. That's as high as they'll go up to. Don't use 10.4. It's gone now. If you buy a new license of CCT, it doesn't even come in there. But 10.4 was full of bugs. There isn't a supported version of 10.4 anywhere. So if you have 10.4, you're having problems, and you see that that's loaded at 10.4, just upgrade that controller. You can't use the new controllers at 10.2. So obviously, if you're doing a job that has both, you're at the program the lower controllers at 10.2, switch your version to 10.5, or right now 10.6 is out, and load the newer stuff at 10.6. If you build a program in a lower version, you can always upgrade it. So if we build a program in 6.2, 10.2, we can always upgrade to 10.6, right? But if we build that program in 10.6, we can't put it back down in 10.2. Man, this is frustrating sometimes. Not as much anymore. Pretty much everybody uses the F4 controllers now. But I remember when they first came out, I was helping people out, and I would not knowingly, I would just build the program in 10.5 at the time. And then they got out there, and they were trying to put in a PCG controller, and they couldn't. So I had to completely rebuild the controller of the program in 10.2 for them, help them out. So it's not a big deal now as much as it was before, but just know if you are doing some programming and it's an older building, you know you got older controls out there, you might want to do all your programming in the 10.2 and then upgrade it as needed for the newer controllers. How to change versions? Pretty easy, pretty straight, simple. On CCT, you'll see settings, and then you click on settings, release mode, and then you choose the release mode that you want. How to upgrade a CAF file? We talked about upgrading a CAF file. So basically, you set your CCT to whatever you want to upgrade the CAF file to. Say it's 10.5, right? So set it at 10.5. And then you go and open the application either in CCT, or you close out a CCT and you just go and click on the save CAF file, and you're going to get something like this. And then you'll want to choose upgrade to the highest version you can upgrade it to and hit continue. Remember, you can always upgrade, but you can never downgrade. All right, let's talk about downloading. 4 problems downloading to a controller. MAC address is wrong. It does not match. That's probably the #1 problem that I see everywhere. Number 2, the program does not match the controller. The controller in the program doesn't match the controller. So whenever you first go to define hardware, it'll actually say up there what kind of controller it is. Make sure it's right. I mean, if it says a PCG controller and you're trying to load a PVC or PCM controller, it's not going to work. The points are not assigned. That's a big one. So it will not download if the points are not assigned. So if you just go in there, create a program, and never go to the points tab, the points never get assigned. And if you're trying to load it into program through the FC bus, remember, once the controller thinks it's into, it's going to disable the FC bus. You have to load it through the SA bus. MAC address. So go to define hardware, network settings, that's where the MAC address is. Controller selection, right there in the field devices, define hardware, the very first thing that you look at on the very top of the screen is field devices. And as you see, this one is a F4 CGM 9090. Obviously, if I was trying to load a 4060, it's not going to work because it's incompatible. So I'd have to go in there and select that and choose the F4 CGM 4060. Point assignments. If you don't go to this screen, the point assignments would not be assigned. So you have to go to the screen. If it's a brand new program and your controller is defined and everything, as soon as you go to the screen, it's going to auto assign all the points, right? You can then, after it auto assigns all the points, you can move the points around however you want to move them around, but they have to be defined. So points are not assigned. Here's what they look like. Here's on the left-hand side, we got discharge air temperature, discharge air pressure, load temp alarm, and preheat temp, right? But there's no numbers after them. On the right-hand side there, we have outputs, or cooling output, or I can't really read that. I think that's the duct, mixed air duct output, and preheat output. So there's no numbers there, right? So after you assign them, they look like this. See, there's actually numbers there. There's a little symbol by it. That little symbol is kind of important. It kind of tells you if it's on a main controller or if it's on an expansion bus. If you've ever seen that, you'll see that the symbol's a little bit different, whether it's on a main controller or expansion bus. But if there's something there, then the points are assigned.